Stephanie White, the head coach of the Indiana Fever, said after a preseason game that they need to find better ways to get Caitlin Clark open so she can take easier shots. This might sound familiar because similar comments have been made for the past 2 years, and it seems like it will continue into a third season. What's surprising is that White recently admitted she's only now realizing that defenders in the WNBA guard Clark differently compared to international games. As they head into Clark's third year, it's surprising that the coach is just recognizing how much pressure, like full-court defense, opposing teams use against one of the league's biggest stars. This is where the frustration really starts, because in sports media there's this idea that you're not supposed to trust what you clearly see. People say don't react to preseason, don't react to the first game, just wait longer and before you know it, the season is almost over and your team is already out of the playoffs. But the truth is, patterns show up early. If something isn't working in preseason, if a coach is dealing with the same problems as last year, and if you keep hearing the same unclear promises about getting your star player better shots, that's not overreacting. It's recognizing a pattern. And right now, that pattern looks very worrying for Indiana Fever fans. Let's break down what actually happened in that preseason game, because the details really matter. Yes, Caitlin Clark missed shots, but the real question is whether those were easy, well-created looks or tough, contested shots she had to create on her own. If you watch the game, the answer is clear: most of her shots were difficult. She was forced to create space by herself on almost every possession instead of getting help from the offense. Instead of running off multiple screens to get open, she was often the one setting screens for her teammates. She also had to bring the ball up the court while facing full-court pressure without much support, and when they did get into their half-court offense, the spacing didn't look very good either. As long as this situation continues, the frustration isn't going away. People are tired of hearing the same line: we have to find ways to get her the ball, over and over again. It starts to feel repetitive, especially when the results don't change. There's also criticism about how she's being used, like having her play off the ball too much or even setting screens, which doesn't really fit her strengths. Some believe the team is trying to copy a "no true point guard" style from the NBA, but that approach doesn't seem to work here. A big point of concern is that Stephanie White was the head coach of the Connecticut Sun when they first used the full-court face-guarding strategy against Caitlin Clark, and it worked so well that other teams started doing the same thing. Now, as the coach of the Indiana Fever, it feels like instead of countering that strategy, the approach is to adjust around it, which seems backwards. The expectation is that someone who helped expose the problem from a defensive point of view should understand it well enough to break it on offense, by using better spacing, more off-ball movement, and consistent screening to free up their best player. Instead, it still sounds like they're searching for answers rather than applying a clear solution. Here's what makes this even more frustrating for Indiana Fever fans. When Sophie Cunningham was on the floor, you saw a perfect example of how things should work. She set a strong screen that knocked a defender down, Caitlin Clark instantly recognized the advantage, pushed the pace, and Cunningham got a wide-open three that she made. That's real basketball chemistry. But the problem is, that play wasn't designed, it just happened naturally. And while that's great to see, you can't build a championship offense by hoping players figure it out on their own. You need a structured system that consistently creates easy looks for your best player. Clark even praised Cunningham after the game, saying she's fearless, always rises to the moment, and brings energy no matter the situation, the kind of teammate every team wants. That shows what Clark values: intensity, toughness, and players who compete at her level. But it raises a bigger question: does she have a coach who matches that same urgency? Someone fully focused on maximizing her talent and building a system around her strengths? Right now, it feels like the Fever have the talent, the star power, and the pieces to compete, but they're missing the offensive structure to tie it all together. And until Stephanie White moves from talking about finding ways to actually implementing them, there's a real concern this team could keep falling short of its potential.